We don't have a microphone. We're in a rather intimate room, so I'll ask everybody to quiet down for those of us that are up front. Since we don't have a mic, tell me this is for Facebook live streaming, so there's no microphone here, although it looks like there might be. But good evening, everybody, and thank you for joining us for the YMCA of York and York County's annual meeting. Certainly glad to have everybody here to show your support for the Y, for our staff, for our volunteers, for the work that we do, for the mission of the organization. Without a doubt, the last year has been one of the most challenging years of the YMCA's history, but we're here to tell you today that our commitment to those that we serve is stronger than ever. That commitment is important to us, and we're here to serve our community and all of you as members. You'll hear more and see more about that in a bit. But I want to point out two important milestones that we'll celebrate here this evening. First, this is the first time that many of us are together since the peak of COVID. And secondly, we have a really exciting topic to discuss and to vote on this evening, and that is the merger of the Lancaster Family YMCA into the YMCA of York and York County. But more to follow on that shortly. Before we dig into the program any further, I'd like to invite Craig Wolf up to lead us with an invocation. Craig?
Thank you, Jim. Let's pray. Our Lord, we come to you this evening with a spirit of thankfulness for working your mission through the YMCA, with humility for the rich blessings we've received because of the fulfillment of that mission, and with hope for the future for the mighty works that you will accomplish moving forward in the communities that we serve. May you grant us wisdom and power and strength as we continue in the spirit of Christ's love, in touching young and old and everyone in between, in touching those who lack resources and those who have resources, those in need of an advocate, those in need of relationship, those in need of a listening ear. May we have the foresight to continue our mission of offering programs that build healthy spirit, mind, and body for all. We're full of gratefulness and joy to have been given the opportunity to serve in this community for 166 years. We humbly ask that your continued grace be upon us, your servants. In the name of Jesus we pray tonight. Amen.
And next we'll ask Joe Kirkiner to come out and introduce our 2020 video.
Anyone who knows me knows that I love my job, and nothing made me love my job more than putting together this video and just going through all the records and pictures and movies we've done over the past year to really tell me and show the impact that the Y has had on the community. So I hope as you watch this video, you feel that degree of love and pride in the YMCA as well. Without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and press play.
Community services is not limited to any service. Quite honestly, if someone needs it, we try and find a way to access what they need.
especially with our kids being mostly virtual now, or being in school and then out of school and back and forth. It's been really interesting to watch the classrooms grow into more of an educare for the older children versus a play-based structure.
I talk to about 75 people a week on topics from food services to UC veterans.
When schools close unexpectedly, a lot of families struggle to feed their children. Kids still need to eat lunch. We're even offering dinner because while a lot of groups offer free lunches, not as many offer free dinners.
At the YMCA Men's Residence, we are very proud to house over 100 men who now call the YMCA their home.
One student who's no longer at our program, but he came into my classroom. He was completely nonverbal, did not have a lot of ways to communicate with us, had a lot of behavior stemming from that because he couldn't get what he wanted and what he needed.
I've had a young lady who actually shared her story with me. She came here, had nothing, she lost everything in Mexico during the earthquakes in Mexico. She lost everything.
I'm John Henry, and he's John here too. R-E-I-L-L-Y.
We had a really neat experience. A gentleman called, and I was talking to him about some other things, and he mentioned that he had a car that he needed to get rid of. His dad had passed away and left him a car, and he was asking questions if I knew of anyone in the community, so between us we worked together.
I worked with her to try to get her in some literacy council stuff so she could learn some English, because her English was very spotty. She knew some but not enough, and then I helped her get a job, helped her get a place through some of the organizations here in York that they're going to do some good work.
Well, I was going to say that for this, you ain't going to sense that. And I said, yeah, because we like it there. It's keeping us out of trouble.
We were able to get this car, which was actually a really nice car, to a family that did not have a car, which then allows them to get to and from their job. So they're incredibly excited and thankful, and so that was amazing.
So we worked really hard on getting him some services set up, and I worked really hard teaching myself some sign, so that way I could teach him sign.
thank you for that. That was great. It's great to see our volunteers, our staff, our mission at work. That was excellent. Next, I'd like to invite Jennifer Hockensmith, Karen Rupert, Aaron Farrow, Larry Richardson to introduce our Volunteers of the Year from each of our branches. So I believe we'll start off with Jennifer, go from there.
Good evening. My name is Jennifer Hockensmith. I'm the Branch Executive Director at the Bob Huffman YMCA in Dover, and it is my honor tonight to recognize Lori Koch, who has been one of our long-standing members. Lori is always the first one in the door, about 5:27 usually in the morning, part of our regular early morning crew. And when COVID hit and we had to shut down, when the first day that we reopened our doors, Lori was the first one standing in line ready to come back into our building. She has been an absolute blessing. As we've been short-staffed, she has helped maintain our wellness center, made sure that the equipment was cleaned, made sure that the towels were out, bottles were cleaned, and everything else was going on. She also made sure that everyone back there was following our guidance for COVID. And the one day she came in, the trash truck that had picked up our trash apparently did not do such a great job, and trash was littered all over Palomino Road. So she took her own time and went out and picked up all of our trash for us, just to make the road and the entrance to the YMCA look much better. So unfortunately, Lori could not be here this evening due to a family commitment, but I'd like to thank her and acknowledge her volunteer time to make our building a much better place for everyone.
Hi, I'm Karen Rupert. I'll try and use my instructor voice from a long time ago. But anyway, Karen Rupert, Director of Operations for the York Association. I have a distinct pleasure of actually recognizing a group this evening, which have been an very integral part of an event that we took over several years ago, the Bob Potts Marathon. It's no longer the Bob Potts Marathon. It is now the York YMCA Marathon and Half Marathon. But without this group of volunteers and their dedication to our event, even though it was a little delayed in 2020, we still were able to host something, and we did it safely, by the way, just in case anybody wondered. This group, when I first met them, I had no idea how special they were going to be to what we do out there. If you've ever been an event director for a race, it's kind of critical, especially a marathon. It's 13 miles out and 13 miles back, so there's no way the race director can know what's going on at that particular point. So they bring every year, I don't know, Jack, 30 volunteers? Yes, 30 volunteers plus that have communication skills with ham radio operators, and hence their name, York Amateur Radio Emergency Services. And sitting down with him and learning what they do is just super amazing. I wish we had the time to explain it. But not only do they have people at base station, but they have people out patrolling the course on their bicycles. They have people at water stations. And when you walk over to one of their personnel and say, where's the first runner? Where's the last runner? Where's the runner that was having some health issues? Where is this runner? That is super comforting as a person in charge of the race, but it also is very integral to be able to get emergency services at the right places as well. So having said that, I cannot give them enough kudos over the last 6 years for what they've done and how they manage, and they're very professional with what they do. They got it all going on. That's all I got to say. So there are some volunteers here, and I'd like them to come up if they would. I think there's 5 of them. Oh, there's underneath there. Sorry about that. I'm not very well organized. So we have a little certificate here, and I think Jack I met initially. He was kind of in charge of the group. I think he's stepped down a little bit now, but still an integral part of what happens every year at the marathon and half marathon, and we truly, truly could not do this without them. So we should stand up and like bow down to these people and really, really, please give them a really good hand. So I'll give it to the leader, but I do want to shake everybody's hand, and thank you so much for coming. We appreciate it, and thanks for all you do every year out on the course.
Thank you.
And we'll see you next May.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you so much.
Hi, I'm Erin Farrow. I'm the Branch Executive Director at the W. Dale Brocker Foundation YMCA. I'm thrilled to announce that Scott Bowman is our Volunteer of the Year. He has been volunteering with us for the past 5 years. More so in the last 2 years, he's been heavily involved with helping out with our youth sports. So Scott takes the time to really work with the kids, make sure they understand the basics of the sports that they're playing, whether it be soccer, basketball, if they're just having fun with Nerf tag. He also has a special connection to the Y as being one of our program director, Travis Bowman's dads. So it's great to see them work together to allow Scott to give back to the Y to help these kids learn to love the sports that we offer and get them involved with the YMCA programming. I don't think Scott was able to make it tonight, but I just want to thank him very much for all the work that he's doing to help make our youth sports program successful over the past couple of years.
So as you can see, this year's corporate volunteers, Joe Hackett, probably everybody in the room knows him. I'm not sure why he's not here tonight, but he's not. And so I think when we told him about this, he didn't want the award, and we said, too bad, we're going to give you the award anyways. But I think that, and most of the people on the board, and certainly some of the Y staff, understand what Joe has been doing really the last year and a half. So the old Western National Bank, that was a day camp site, there was a corporate offices, many of us remember his racquetball course, it was a baseball academy, it was all these things, and I think 5-6 years ago we took RFPs and we decided that we were going to put this technology center in there, working with some partners in the city, and project really wasn't moving forward. So with the board's approval, Joe and I went to some of the funders and also some of the organizers with the vision and said, we'd like to take over the development of the project. We think we can raise the money, and then we'll look at purposing that with strong volunteers and eventually hire staff into fulfilling out that vision. And we were able to do that. So the Tech Rev, now it's called Tech Rev. It originally at one time was called the Fortress, was going to be called the Fortress. Now it's called Tech Rev, officially Tech Rev. YMCA Tech Rev is the official name. And we worked hard and we raised $1 million. And so it's all paid off. It's high technology. I don't understand at all, how it works and what it's supposed to do. But we have a lot of partners, and Joe is actually the regional president or director of Ben Franklin Partnership here in the community. There's a co-working space upstairs, and Joe actually has a desk there, so he's at the site. We have many other partners that are coming in as membership partners. We have a 3D printing. We're developing this ecosystem, workforce training, working with Mantech, South Central Manufacturers Association. We are ready to sign our first contract with a manufacturer. This is how this is supposed to work. A manufacturer in New York, I can't say who they are, is consolidating their services here in York from another state. And as they come in, they need to train 40 people in their new systems, computer systems, to get it online. And they're going to contract out with Tech Rev to do that. So we have the space, we have the data, we have the room, we have the technology. What they bring is the curriculum, and they bring the trainers. And what we're trying to do is really addressing really diverse community in the city, ages 18 to 25, to give them really high, nice paying jobs, life-sustaining jobs. So we're starting to see that vision. It's also our Girls Who Code program will move over there, and there's all kinds of other. We're looking at esports. Mike Smith and I met with the Emerald Foundation in Lancaster today to start an esports program for city youth. And who would have known it, right? And many of you know my son. He would have been he would have been a world all-star as a gamer, and he just missed it by 15 years. But so Joe has done an awful lot of work there, a tremendous amount of work there, and I am hoping he will continue. So he's not here. We'll make sure that he gets the volunteer certificate, and but we appreciate the amount of time he's put in there, and he's still putting it in. So we want to thank Joe Hackett.
So thank you to all of our volunteers that were recognized, those that could be here and those that couldn't. And for those that couldn't be here, next time you see them, Please thank them for their service to the Y, and everybody, thank you for all that you do for us. With that, we're going to move back over to Karen, who's going to help us recognize our long-term members of the Y.
Thank you, Jim. Excuse me. I always draw the short straw on this, and I'm not sure why. Maybe it's because I've been with the Y the longest or something like that. So, but it's a super important job to do, to recognize those that have been with us long term. And Joe made the print really small in here, so I'm gonna have to put my glasses on to kind of help with that a little bit. Unfortunately, obviously, they all couldn't be here with us, but isn't it quite amazing as an organization that you can have somebody that's been a member for 80 years to say that you as a organization that is not a gym and swim, we are a community-based organization, has a member that's been with us 80 years. Or 70 or 60 or 50 or 40. As I look down over the list of the names here every year, and I still know a lot of these people. You know, they're coming into the YMCA as members and supporters, I should say, and it's just so heartwarming to know that they've been with us, and especially since what we just went through recently, a lot of these members are still with us today. So it's not about just being an organization, it's about being a family, is my thought process. And they're part of our Y family, just like the staff that have been here for long tenure as well. So I do want to recognize some of the people that are here. And the first person that walked in this evening, I'm going to ask him to stand. Milt Steinhauser was over here. He's been with the Y for 50 years. Thank you, Milt. And I really appreciate your time in coming here this evening. I'm just looking down. And we have John and Jan Harold here in the back also, if I can find them. They're 40 plus years. And I apologize if I don't get everybody on here, but we should do. Oh, and Mike Bowman was in that list also, as I look quickly down through here. How about even just staff? I'm 30 years, so I can stand up. I'm already standing. Pardon? Doug. Oh yes, Doug. Betty had to leave, but she'll be back to take care of you. So yeah, but thank you so much. Just looking down over the list here, like I said, seeing these people that are still coming in the Y today since we reopened our doors back in June. So let's do a little quiz. Just, you can raise one hand, both hands, whatever. How many people, everybody else been in the Y? Anybody been here 40 years? I want people to see how it is. So raise your hand, guys. Be proud of it. 40, 50 years, raise your hands. Now, keep them up. 30 years? 20 years? 20 plus years, I guess I should say. And keep going. 15? 10? 5? You're a new member? All hands should be up in the room. So thank you so much, everybody, for supporting the Y and being a member, because we are a member organization. We truly, truly appreciate all of our members. And it's great to see everybody in person for a change. Thank you so much.
Karen, thank you for that, and thank you for all of you that have been long-term members and all of you that are working to become long-term members of the YMCA. So thank you for that. Next, I'm going to turn it over to Joe again to recognize some staff milestones.
Thank you. Unfortunately, Megan Hill, our HR director, couldn't be here tonight, so I'm filling in for her. So just pretend I'm Megan, and it should all go very smoothly. And Karen, you always do the long-term member portion of this, because you did the first year I put together the agenda, and you haven't said no yet every other year. So I know not all these employees are here, but they've all put in at least 5 years of service, and these are hitting major mile marks in their YMCA career. So if you're here, just stand up and come collect your certificate, and we also have a commemorative pin for you. So first up is Cheryl Yost for 5 years of service. Jana Ziegler for 5 years of service. Lisa Schreiber, 5 years. Craig Snyder, also 5 years. Barbara Brennan for 10 years of service. I know Barbara's here. And Morgan Strathmeyer for 10 years, and I feel like we could just give this to Corey, and you could Nope.
Joe, he can deliver it for you. Sorry.
Richard Hardin for 10 years of service. Linda Duke for 10 years of service. Christina Jones for 10 years. Susan Johnson, 15 years.
Thank you very much.
And we got Ryan for 15 years of service. Do you have a 15?
You said about. Oh, sorry. I'm not very good being a weight, am I?
We got Robin Barone for 25 years of service. I don't believe she was able to make it, but a big round of applause for all the people and all the Y employees who can make it tonight.
Thank you, Joe, and thank you to all the Y staff. You're truly the backbone of our organization. We could not do what we do without all of you. So, again, thank you for your years of service and for many more to come. I heard Barbara has at least another 20 years in her, but we won't. We'll leave that for another time. So, moving along, I would like to next review our 2020 annual report with you. I believe we are able to share some of that information on the screen. So we will go ahead and do that. Joe hit many of these important points in his video, but I do want to highlight some of those again because they are just so significant. First, I want to note that 3,300 people received food assistance through Southern Community Services. Additionally, 500 children remain engaged and learning while there were COVID shutdowns. They were in our EduCare program. We assisted over 1,300 newcomers to the area through our New American Welcoming Center, and we provided over $215,000 of financial assistance for those to be able to join the Y and improve their health. We also provided a home to nearly 100, perhaps more, formerly homeless men in our men's residence. And I also want to note that we had over 1,000 volunteers who provided over 14,000 hours of service to the organization. What's really significant there is that is an increase of over 150 volunteers from what we had in 2019, and it's an increase of over 5,000 hours of service from what we had in 2019. Now, this might be anecdotal, but we attribute that to the increased need that we experienced in the community in 2020 as a result of the COVID-19 issues that everybody faced and the challenges that we had in our community. So to say that in another way, Y volunteers alongside Y staff stepped up to the plate when our community was in need, and that is what it is all about. So thank you again for everybody who stepped up. I would continue to read more about our impact in the community in our annual report. A lot of useful information in there. Additionally, there's a list of all our philanthropic supporters. Without them, we would not be able to do all the work that we're able to in the community. And finally, the report includes a list of our longtime members, staff, and tonight's Volunteers of the Year, all of whom were recognized tonight. So join me in giving one more round of applause to everybody. I would now like to invite Barbara back up, our CFO, for her review of our finances. Barbara?
Good evening, and as you're about to hear, there is a recurring theme here. What I'm going to do is try to put some numbers and how we managed to continue all these wonderful projects in last year. When we began, the focus of 2018 and 2019 was financial growth. We achieved it. Following the strong performance of those years, the theme of financial strength and sustainability for future years became the goal of the original 2020 plan and budget. How ironic then that we would experience the necessity for this goal 3 months into the year. What was and continues to be the impact of COVID-19 as a result of full and partial program closures, PPE and mitigation constraints, and unpredictable customer demand required an immediate and flexible response from the WISE management team. Long-term strategic sustainability, was it a luxury now? One thing that the management team knew was that we would not lose focus on our mission statement and our social responsibility focus. Discontinuing the delivery of these activities to the community was not an option. Because of the partnership of financial and operational efforts and the reputation of the YMCA of York, social responsibility became our funding strength. Although total revenue decreased 27% to $8.2 million, still not a bad number for the association, but it was $11.1 million in 2019. There is a shift, however, in the revenue categories that minimized what could have been a much higher reduction. Employees, volunteers, and donors stepped up to help. In 2019, contributions totaled $4 million. But we had a capital campaign, and we had a one-time $2 million gift to our endowment. Even so, in 2020, the York YMCA recognized $2.2 million in contributions. When the facility was closed due to the pandemic, members donated April and May fees as contribution to support our continuing ability to continue to provide community outreach activities. Government grant funding for the Anti-Hunger Youth Enrichment Program, this is what we refer to as our Youth Food Mobile Program, actually got suspended mid-March through mid-August. However, monetary gifts from foundations, private sector companies, members and non-members throughout the community enabled this program to deliver over 23,000 meals or food packages during this time. Over 30,000 meals were delivered by them during the entire year. Donations for COVID-19 response efforts helped Southern Community Services, as you've heard, purchase equipment to meet the capacity for the storage and distribution of food items, issue utility support payments, and provide outreach due to the sudden increases in demand. We were able to offer a homeless hygiene program, and the New American Welcome Center was able to provide guidance and referrals to assist over 1,400 families in need of housing, food, rental assistance, and other resources. Grant revenue increased 769%. In 2020, we optimized government and private grant opportunities totaling $1.7 million. Part of that was the PPP loan program. The Y expended 100% of $943,000 in Paycheck Protection Program proceeds on personnel costs, strictly personnel costs, in order to retain our employees. We expended $401,000 in Act 24 dollars to provide child care to families engaged in essential employment during COVID shutdown and to continue to provide care to households during reopening. The grant helped with converting Y facilities to accommodate the change in school-age care to hybrid or virtual learning. We now had EduCare. The County Relief Block Grant Program provided $200,000 for outreach activities at the New American Welcome Center and for improvement of infrastructure to provide youth and adult workforce development at the York Tech Rev. These revenue sources helped to offset a downturn in program fees of 38% and in membership fees of 33%. However, the average decrease in earned revenues for YMCs across the state was 40 to 50%. Our wellness, youth, and aquatics program personnel initiated virtual platforms to keep members engaged, and this helped us tremendously. Cost containment measures and COVID-related mandated suspension of services reduced total expenditures 11% from 2019. Total expenses in 2020 were $7 million, down from $7.9 million in the prior year. What's this mean? Bottom line, the York YMCA finished the year with excess of support and revenue over expenses of $1.1 million. Fair value of perpetual trust increased by $391,000 to $6 million, and the endowment net asset value, the board designated funds, also increased from $1.3 million to $1.4 million. That was 2020. And I've presented you a financial picture of the highlights of the past. But I feel it's prudent at this time to address the current year because of the significant challenges we faced in 2020. Our financial outlook is positive. The current financial model of the York County locations projects earnings before interest and depreciation of $1 million. We received $548,000 for the first quarter 2021 employee retention tax credit from the IRS. That's in hand. Based on current trends, the forecast projects fiscal year program revenue higher by 36% and membership revenue higher by 15% than in 2020. An optimistic indicator is the start of summer day camp, and we hit 100% participation levels in the beginning of our summer program. So we are on track. We did receive round 2 of PPP loan. This time it totaled $742,000, and the entire loan is almost expended, and again, it's 100% on personnel costs. However, that being said, total expenditures are increasing only 1 to 2% in the financial model due to low labor participation rates, like a lot of us are experiencing at this time in the first quarter. The potential forgiveness of the PPP loan is not included in that $1 million figure that I gave you. So after forgiveness, that will increase our bottom line potential for next year. This financial model that I just gave you for the current year also does not include the merger of York and Lancaster Wise. The combined resources of both organizations projects an average annual growth rate of 15% over the next 4 years. After cost savings, earnings before depreciation for the merged entity is projected to grow at an average annual rate of 20% until 2024. Therefore, and finally, this projected financial performance provides future sustainability that we were searching for in 2020 and the expansion of both monetary and operational tools to expand how our Ys both serve the community. Thank you.
So thank you, Barbara. She just walked around there. I will tell you that she summarized that nicely, but I was participating in the meetings. I was there as she was running these numbers throughout 2020, and man, can that woman pivot when she needs to. We owe a lot of thanks to Barbara and her work over the last 16 months because she was adjusting and adapting in ways that made our organization financially viable when so many others were not. So Barbara, thank you from the bottom of my heart for all the work that you did over the last 16 months and the work that you continue to do. So with that, we are going to change gears a little bit and talk about the opportunity with the Lancaster County YMCA. So tonight we will vote on whether or not to move forward with merging the Lancaster Family YMCA into the YMCA of York and York County. And I chose my words there carefully, and I'll say it again. Merging the Lancaster Family YMCA into the YMCA of York and York County. I know that some of you are very familiar with this, those on the board or those close to it, staff working in it. But for everybody else, I do want to take a moment just to go through a couple of highlights, so bear with me. In July of 2020, the Lancaster YMCA reached out to Larry. Larry brought me into the fold. At that point in time, they were closed due to COVID. They had no CEO, virtually no staff, and they were in need of help. After a couple months of conversations, by September of 2020, we agreed to enter a management services arrangement in which the York team provided management services to the Lancaster team, mostly Larry and HR related functions. This agreement was set to renew or expire in January of 2021, depending on both parties' interests. Both parties did agree in January of 21 to renew the agreement, and at that point in time we also decided to undertake and to explore the possibility of a merger. And as part of that exploration of a merger, we formed a joint merger task force. It was comprised of members from both boards of directors, equal membership from both boards of directors, and the task force was guided by the Pennsylvania State Alliance of YMCAs, and we focused on several areas of due diligence. Those areas included program and membership, risk and property, human resources, finance, and governance. And the conclusion of the task force was that merging the Lancaster Y into the York Y made sense for both organizations. Our conclusion was that together we'd be better positioned to increase program quality and program quality, and that we'd gain operational and financial efficiencies, and that our staff would have more growth opportunities in the future. And we didn't, and we have not kid ourselves to this day, thinking that the merger would be an easy process without hiccups, because it hasn't been and it won't be. However, we do agree and we do feel strongly that this merger is a way to ensure the long-term sustainability and the long-term relevance of the YMCA in our region. I will note that both the Lancaster and York boards of directors have already voted to move forward with merger discussions. And additionally, the Lancaster membership has already voted in favor of moving forward with merger discussions. At this time, I will invite Larry if there's any additional comments he would like to add before we move on to the next phase of this conversation this evening. Larry, if there's anything I missed?
No, there were some, as many of you know, there were some structural changes we made to our staff. That was necessary. This is the time I was spending in Lancaster. Karen Rupert, I pointed to her over there. I think she's going to speak at the game downstairs. So, as the director of operations in York, and Mike Smith in the back. Mike was the branch executive at the W. Dale Brocker YMCA, before known as the Southern Branch Y. Mike is the director of operations now in Lancaster. So we went from 3 staff in September of 2020 to about 125 staff in Lancaster now. They're doing well. We still believe it's a heavy lift, but we still believe that the regional approach is going to be good for both communities. We've been welcomed there. The cultures have worked out well. There's a little bit difference between York and Lancaster, of course, but we're really excited about where this is going. We have the support of the State Alliance of YMCAs. We have the tremendous support from YUSA. And coming out of COVID, there are a lot of Ys that are looking at these types of arrangements. Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, and Pittston, Pennsylvania just merged. Bucks County YMCA was 3 YMCAs, it's now 1. So this is happening in nonprofit communities, but it's also happening within the YMCA also. As far as I know, because I have got this question, I tried to fool around my LinkedIn, because somebody said I need to add that I'm the CEO of the Lancaster YMCA, so I put that on there, and I've been getting congratulations on my new job. I've not gotten a new job. I've not left York. We have reshuffled and restructured, but it is in addition to. And as far as I know, I think I will continue as the president and CEO of the merged organization. So staffing-wise, we're going to still see the same familiar faces. So, but that's from an HR perspective, and I guess we'll take a motion, and then maybe if anybody has any questions, then we can answer them for you.
And for the record, Larry's continuing in his position was an absolute requirement to continue the conversation. So as a procedural note here, I am going to ask for a motion to merge the Lancaster YMCA into the York Y, but I want to note to you that I will then be asking for a second, and then we'll open up the floor to discussion before we take a final vote. So procedurally, I will be asking for a motion. We'll take a second. After the second, we'll pause for discussion. After that discussion, we will take a final vote. So at this point in time, I would like to ask for a motion to move forward.
I so move.
Thank you. We have a motion, and do we have a second? Thank you very much.
Just for the records, Milt Steinhauser and John Harrell.
Very good. At this time, we'll open up the floor to any discussion, any comments or questions that anybody may have. Going once, going twice. If I don't hear anything, I'm going to assume that that concludes our discussion, and we will proceed with the formal vote. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. And because of the noise and the number of people here, I'll also ask you to raise your hand so that we can get a count. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye and raising your hand. Do we have somebody counting?
I think Nancy's counting in the back.
Nancy counting?
Yeah. Yeah, counting all users' eyes.
Okay. All right. So we can go ahead and put our hands down. All those opposed indicate by saying nay, and raise your hands for Nancy. Let the record show I don't see any hands or comments. And all those who wish to abstain, please indicate by saying so now, and again, for Nancy's sake, raise your hand. Excellent. Thank you very much. The motion passes. We have a lot of work ahead of us to continue the merger forward, but we appreciate everybody's vote, and we appreciate your commitment to the organization. At this point in time, I'm going to turn it back over to Larry for his concluding remarks. Larry?
So this will be short. The food's in the back. And this on the merger, the last thing, and so we've had to make this clear in Lancaster also. The Lancaster YMCA legally will cease to exist. Their EIN number will go away. Their assets will be dissolved, and they'll be included into the YMCA of York and York County. There will be a name change. You've got to file for that name change coming up here soon. And it's out there. I think it's in the plan of merger. YMCA the Roses, Lancaster, York. So if any other communities want to come in, there are some others been asked. They're going to have a rose in their name, or we're going to have to change the name again. So, but we're excited, and I think it would be remiss to not thank Jim Singleton and the entire board and the executive committee. There's been mergers in the YMCA's, but 167. I thought we were over 166 years old. Lancaster is 167 years old. So two YMCA's that are very old. Pinnacles in their community coming together. And it's been a heavy lift, and appreciate Jim's willingness to take some risks and go to the first meeting with me. I appreciate it. So, and the board's work. So thank you all for coming tonight. Appreciate your time. Please have some food and refreshments in the back. Make sure you stay for the game. So appreciate it. Thank you, everybody.
Text Steve.
Was that?
So you want to text Steve?
I was just with him in the finance committee. I said I would call him or text him if we had any problems. I would call him.